My daughter's voice sliced through the music and laughter, sharp, clean, and merciless. I was standing by the drinks table, holding a glass of water, nodding politely to yet another guest whose name had already slipped my mind, when Valerie appeared beside me. 17 years old, usually calm and measured, but now her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Urgency. And it wrapped itself around my chest, squeezing tight. "What's wrong?" I whispered, my lips still curved into a smile, though inside, it had already vanished. "Mom, please. You have to trust me. We need to leave. Now." It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. The way her hand closed around my wrist. Not harsh, but steady, like she was pulling me back into reality. Valerie wasn't dramatic. She didn't spin stories. And in that moment, I knew she wasn't being difficult. She was protecting me from something I hadn't yet seen. I'm Marissa. For 15 years, I've raised my 2 kids alone, ever since their father decided he was more interested in freedom than fatherhood. In that time, I've learned how to read people, to sense alarms no one else hears. And right now, Valerie's eyes were screaming. Evening had started simply enough. My parents, Rowan and Elizabeth, had turned their backyard into a fairy tale of string lights and soft music, celebrating 45 years of marriage. I showed up with Valerie and 15-year-old Charlie, clutching a gift I'd spent weeks saving up for. It was supposed to be a happy night. But even in the first hour, something felt off. The compliments came, predictable and scripted. "You look great, Marissa. The kids are getting so big. You're still so strong." Words meant to flatter, but they landed wrong, like reading lines from a play I didn't audition for. And the guests, there were too many. Faces I knew, faces I didn't, all blending together. Some of them smiled at me with an unsettling familiarity, like they were in on a secret I wasn't. Meanwhile, my parents floated through the crowd with a strange rhythm, always a half-second ahead, as if anticipating some reveal I hadn't been told about. "Mom," Valerie whispered again, more urgent this time. "Charlie's already waiting in the car." Charlie! In the car. My heart skipped. My kids didn't pull stunts like this. Valerie was grounded. Charlie curious but cautious. If both of them felt something was wrong, it wasn't teenage drama. It was real. I followed Valerie's gaze. My parents stood at the far end of the yard, deep in conversation with a couple I didn't recognize. The woman's dress shimmered under the lights. Elegant, expensive. The man beside her had the quiet arrogance of someone used to getting what he wants. Their eyes flicked to me, not with a smile, but with expectation. Like they were waiting for a transaction to be completed. "What did you hear, Valerie?" I murmured, though deep down, I already knew. "Not here. I'll explain in the car. But we have to go." Quietly. Before I could respond, my mother appeared. Her smile was the same one she wore when delivering decisions I had no part in. "Marissa, come here. There are some people dying to meet you." Valerie's grip tightened, her voice low. "Mom. Now or never." The room blurred. Music faded to a hum. Conversation stalled. Valerie moved first, guiding me toward the exit, her steps calm and controlled. I followed, matching her pace, even as my heart pounded louder with every step. We intercepted my mother mid-path. I met her smile with one of my own, a mask, barely holding. "Charlie's not feeling well. We have to go." "But honey," the Maddens wanted. "We'll talk later, Mom. This can't wait." I didn't look back. I didn't slow down. My feet moved, but my mind lagged, struggling to catch up with whatever was unfolding. By the time we reached the car, Charlie was already in the back seat, staring straight ahead with a look no 12-year-old should wear. As we pulled away, the silence inside the car was deafening. The house, the lights, the people, they all faded into the rear view, but the knot in my chest only grew tighter. I glanced back once more. My parents stood on the porch, their silhouettes rigid, watching us leave. Their faces were unreadable, but their stillness hummed with frustration. A few blocks passed before I found my voice. "All right," I said, gripping the steering wheel harder than I needed to. "Someone tell me what just happened." Valerie and Charlie exchanged a look. It wasn't hurried. It was deliberate. like they were silently agreeing that whatever they were about to say would change everything. Mom, Valerie began, carefully choosing her words, that wasn't a normal party. What do you mean? I asked, though a part of me already knew. It wasn't about celebrating Grandma and Grandpa, she said. The ground beneath me felt like it shifted, just a little, but enough to unsettle me. So what was it about? Valerie inhaled, slow and steady. It was about you, Mom, but not the way you think. I pulled into the parking lot of a nearby supermarket. I couldn't keep driving. I needed a moment of stillness. I turned off the ignition, but the air inside the car remained thick, unmoving. Charlie, I said, turning to face him, what did you see? His eyes met mine, steady but uncertain. I heard Grandma and Grandpa talking to that fancy couple. They said your name a lot, but not like you were their daughter. My stomach dropped. How did they talk about me? Like you were something they were selling. The words hit hard, but strangely, I wasn't surprised. Somewhere deep inside, I had already felt it coming. Valerie, tell me exactly what you heard. She didn't hesitate. Mom, those are the parents of a man who wants to meet you. Not just meet. Marry. What? The word fell out, hollow and stunned. Grandma and Grandpa told them you're ready to settle down. That you've learned from your mistakes. That you need a man to give you stability. The anger was immediate, sharp, but I pressed it down, forcing myself to listen. There's more, Valerie said, her voice quieter now. They told them we're part of the package. That their son would be a good stepfather. And you should be grateful. Because not many men would accept a woman with 2 kids. I closed my eyes and exhaled, counting to 10. As if numbers could contain the wildfire blazing inside my chest. Did they know you were listening? No, Valerie said. I was helping in the kitchen when I heard them in Grandpa's study. The door was cracked open. I was playing in the backyard, Charlie added. I heard them move to the balcony. They thought I was too far to hear. Valerie's hand found mine, grounding me. Mom, this wasn't spur of the moment. Grandma and Grandpa planned this for weeks. They told that family you'd already agreed. That tonight was just to meet them. They said I agreed? Yes. They said you're shy about these things, that you'd rather they handle the introductions. I sat there, letting each word carve into me, deeper than the last. The silence wasn't empty, it was heavy, filled with the weight of betrayals I hadn't wanted to see. My own parents lied about my consent, I whispered. They turned a family celebration into a deal. Did they talk about money? I asked, even though I already knew. Both kids nodded. They talked about the wedding, Charlie said quietly. Where we'd live. How he could help with debts. Debts. I echoed, though my breath had already caught. They said single moms always have money problems, he murmured. That you wouldn't admit it, but you need help. I couldn't respond. The air in the car had turned suffocating, as if their words had soaked into every surface, closing in on us. My hands tightened around the steering wheel, not to drive, but to stay anchored. Is there anything else? I asked, though my voice didn't sound like mine. Valerie hesitated. She looked at Charlie, and in that glance, I saw the burden they were carrying. One they never should have had to. Please, Valerie, I said softer now. Tell me. She took a breath, slow and careful. Mrs. Madden asked what would happen if you said no. I felt a chill trace down my spine. And Grandpa said you wouldn't say no. Because you can't afford to keep being so proud. The words pierced through me. But Valerie wasn't finished. Then Grandma said if you did say no, they knew how to make you understand it's what's best for everyone. It was like a bucket of ice water had been poured over me. My entire body went rigid, bracing against an invisible force. Every muscle wanted to react, to fight, but I stayed still. Their words, their assumptions, wrapped around me like a net I couldn't yet untangle. Mom, Valerie whispered, her hand brushing against mine. Are you okay? No. Not even close. Rage burned through me, sharp and unrelenting, but beneath it, hidden under years of quiet endurance, something else stirred. A clarity. A razor-sharp awareness I hadn't felt in a long time. I'm fine, I said, though the words felt strange on my tongue. But even as I said them, an undeniable truth began to take shape. Actually, I'm perfect. Valerie searched my face, unsure, but I gave her a small, steady nod. I wasn't exactly lying. Beneath the betrayal, something unexpected was beginning to surface, something my parents never saw coming. "What are we going to do?" she asked. I turned the key in the ignition, letting the hum of the engine ground me. "We're going home," I said. "Tomorrow, we remind everyone who I really am." It wasn't a battle cry. It was a quiet promise to myself, to my children. What my parents never understood was that in these 15 years of survival, I hadn't just endured. I had been evolving. Quietly, steadily, building something they never bothered to notice. They thought my pride was a flaw. They never realized it was my foundation. That night, after Valerie and Charlie had fallen asleep, I sat alone at my desk. The house was still, the kind of stillness that magnifies every thought. I wrapped my hands around a warm mug of tea, its rising steam anchoring me to the moment. A blank notebook sat open, waiting. I wasn't going to act out of anger. No impulsive words. No reckless confrontations. 15 years of single motherhood had taught me better. Every move matters. Every choice echoes. And this would echo loudly. I picked up the phone and dialed Sophia, my best friend and my compass when the path blurred. She answered on the second ring. "Sophia, I need to ask you something legal," I said, calm but firm. "If someone claims you consented to something without asking you, wouldn't that be fraud?" She inhaled sharply. "Marissa, what happened?" And so I told her. Every detail. Every insult disguised as kindness. Every betrayal wrapped in false concern. She listened, quietly at first, then with a growing outrage that matched my own. "Marissa, what your parents did isn't just morally wrong, it's legally risky. Misrepresenting you to others, that's serious." "I'm not looking to stir up legal trouble, Sophia," I said softly. "I'm looking for justice. A clean, dignified truth." There was a pause. Then she answered, steady and sure. "Then let's make a plan." The next morning, sunlight spilled through the kitchen window, deceptively gentle. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I searched for the Maddens' phone number. Finding answers had become second nature to me. Within minutes, I had it. The phone rang twice before Mrs. Madden answered, her voice warm and polished. "Marissa, dear, how's your son? We were very concerned last night." I offered a tight smile. "He's perfectly fine, thank you. But we need to have a different kind of conversation." I kept my tone calm as I laid it all out. The misrepresentations, the assumptions, the decisions made on my behalf. I wanted her to understand not just the facts, but the dignity she was being denied by being pulled into this. "Mrs. Madden, I'm a professional with a stable career. I have 2 thriving children and a full life. I'm not in the market for a marriage, especially not one arranged behind my back." There was a pause. For a moment, I braced for a defensive response. But when she spoke, her tone softened, unexpectedly honest. "You deserve an apology, Marissa. Your parents misled us. They told us you were desperate to marry, that you needed financial help, and that you were willing to accept whatever arrangement we proposed." Desperate. That word hit harder than any of the others. But as she spoke, a new truth began to take shape. A woman who's raised 2 children on her own isn't desperate. She's resourceful. She's resilient. "Mrs. Madden, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Does your son know about this arrangement?" "No," she admitted. "And frankly, I'm relieved. My son is 42. He's been waiting for someone special, not someone forced into his life under the guise of charity." A breath I hadn't realized I was holding escaped me. "Then your son and I have something in common. We both deserve to choose." "You're absolutely right," she said, her voice firm now. "Marissa, when I met your daughter last night, even in those few minutes, I could see where her strength comes from. You've done an exceptional job as a mother." A quiet warmth bloomed in my chest. "Thank you, Mrs. Madden. May I ask, what line of work are you in?" "I run a logistics firm. Actually, we're in need of an administrative coordinator. Someone to manage budgets, oversee projects, and keep our teams on track. Would you be interested in a real interview? Based on your professional merit." For a moment, I sat in stillness, letting it sink in. This wasn't a rescue. It wasn't charity. It was an opportunity, one I had earned. I'd be honored, I said. But even as I hung up, my hands resting on the table, I knew there was still one conversation left. The hardest one. My parents' betrayal wasn't just a wound. It was a mirror, reflecting back the strength they had spent years choosing not to see. That afternoon, with golden sunlight streaming through the windshield, I drove to their house. Valerie and Charlie sat in the back seat, quietly watching. The hum of the tires was steady, grounding. This wasn't about confrontation anymore. It was about showing my children how to face betrayal with dignity, how to stand tall without raising your voice. "Mom," Valerie said softly as we stepped onto the walkway, her hand brushing mine. "Are you nervous?" I smiled, feeling 15 years of weight lift just a little. "No, sweetheart. I'm ready." The front door creaked open, familiar and foreign all at once. My parents sat in the living room, stiff and uneasy, caught between old expectations and an unfamiliar reality. They sensed it. Today was different. "Daughter, how did it go with the Maddens?" my mother asked, brittle. "Very well, Mom." "Quite eye-opening." "Are you going to meet their son?" my father asked, hope flickering in his eyes. "No, Dad." I took a steady breath. "But I'll be working for their company." Confusion washed over their faces. It was almost tender, watching their certainty unravel in real time. The woman they tried to mold into someone else's life was standing right in front of them, whole, unboxed, and unbowed. "What are you talking about?" my mother asked, as if the ground had shifted beneath her. "I'm talking about the lies. The false stories you told about me. The decisions you made without my consent." The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was heavy, like a curtain falling after a poorly written play. In that pause, something became crystal clear. They had never really seen me. They had only seen their fears, projected onto my life. "Mom, Dad," I said, calm but unwavering, "for 15 years, I've paid every bill. I've raised 2 children who excel in school and stand here today with more grace than most adults I know. I've been promoted 3 times for my work. When did that stop being enough for you?" My father opened his mouth, but I continued, gently yet firm. "When Mrs. Madden met me, she didn't see a problem to fix. She saw a professional. She offered me a job because she saw what you've chosen not to. But you saw me as a burden." "Daughter, we just wanted—" my mother began. "What did you want, Mom?" My voice softened, but didn't waver. "Why did you need to rewrite my life? Why did you tell strangers I was desperate? Why does my independence look like failure to you?" Valerie and Charlie stood silently by my side, their presence louder than any words. "We thought you'd be better off with someone to help you," my mother whispered, her hands trembling. "Better off than standing here, whole and unbroken." "You know what Mrs. Madden told me?" I said. "She said that when she met Valerie, she knew her mother had to be an extraordinary woman. Because children like mine don't come from failing mothers." And there it was, a flicker of tears in my mother's eyes. In 5 minutes, a stranger had seen what they had overlooked for 15 years. She saw me as a successful professional, a capable mother, a whole woman. "When did you stop seeing me that way?" My father's shoulders slumped under the weight of it all. "You're right. You're absolutely right. We've been wrong. We've seen you through the lens of our own failures. When we were your age, I couldn't support our family on my own. Your mother had to give up her education to help us make ends meet. We thought you'd need the same rescue. But you're not us, daughter." My mother's voice followed, fragile but sincere. "You're stronger than we ever were. We were so busy trying to protect you from our past that we didn't see you don't need protection. You need recognition." "I don't need admiration," I replied gently. "I just need respect. Trust in my decisions. I need you to see me as I am, not as the daughter you imagined." "Can you forgive us?" my mother asked, voice cracking. "I already have. But I need you to promise. This can never happen again. My children need to see that adults can own their mistakes and grow from them." My father nodded solemnly. "How do we fix this?" "You can start by calling the Maddens and apologizing for the false information. And you need to promise me that from now on, my life is mine to live, without interference." 3 months later, I stood in my new office, sunlight warming the polished desk where international project plans lay neatly stacked. The job Mrs. Madden offered had become more than just a position. It was a testament to every invisible skill I'd honed while running a household alone. Budget management, crisis control, leadership, they all had a place here. Valerie had offers from 3 universities, each competing to give her a full scholarship. Charlie continued to bring home academic awards with a quiet, humble pride. And I had found something I never expected: peace. Not because my life was now perfect, but because I had finally learned that my worth was not up for debate, not with employers, not with strangers, not even with family. That Sunday, during a family dinner that felt new and honest, my father looked up from his plate and said something I will carry with me forever. "Marissa, I owe you an even bigger apology." "Why, Dad?" "Because for 15 years, I kept waiting for you to need my help. I didn't realize you'd already built a life stronger than I ever could have given you." I smiled, not out of triumph, but out of quiet understanding. "It's not about competing, Dad. It's about recognizing," he said, his eyes softening. "And now I recognize that my daughter is one of the strongest women I know." As I sat there, surrounded by the family I had rebuilt, not perfect, but honest, I realized something profound. Sometimes, the people who love us most are the ones who see us the least clearly. True love isn't about fixing someone. It's about celebrating who they already are. I learned that my children always saw me with clarity, that strength doesn't always announce itself, but it's always there, quietly shaping every choice, every step. And when you finally learn to value yourself, the world has no choice but to adjust its vision. It sees you for who you've been all along. Have you ever been through something like this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Thanks so much for watching Rise with Sherry. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more.